Let's start with the obvious and end with the stuff nightmares are made of. This is animals that eat people. 1. Cats. You know how they say dogs are a man's best friend? Well, whoever came up with that saying probably knew just how evil cats can be.
Bruh.
These things can appear all nice and cutesy in front of you, but be prepared because they're definitely planning your demise. Consider what happened to a cat breeder in Russia. This old lady got eaten by not 1, not 2, but by 20 of her Maine Coon cats.
Bruh.
Talk about a last meal. The news story went viral back in 2022, and it made people take a good hard look at their own feline friends, wondering if it was really worth keeping these furry little murderers around the house. Turns out, about 2 weeks after the woman passed away, the cats realized that the little nap their owner was taking was going to be a long one. So these animals decided to feast on the all-you-can-eat buffet. I mean, on one hand, you can't really blame them, right? Even a human could do that if they were hungry enough. Or, you could call Uber Eats. But honestly, with those surge prices, forget it. I'll stick to rotting flesh, thank you very much. Hopefully those 20 cats got a good home after they were found, but then again, now they've got a taste for human meat. So there's no saying how many poor people they'll end up killing before they satisfy their killer thirst. Jokes aside though, I do feel bad for whoever found the poor woman after the cats were done with her. You can be sure her face wasn't perfect anymore. And with that awful pun, we will transition to our next incident. 2. Crocodiles. You know how crocodiles are called swamp puppies? Well, don't let the name fool you, because if anything, these creatures are more like ferocious predators, always on the hunt for their next meal, including unsuspecting humans. That's a lesson that Kevin Darmody from Australia sadly had to learn the hard way. Back in 2023, Kevin decided he'd go out fishing with some of his pals at Lakefield National Park. What could go wrong? Well, turns out, when you're out fishing in crocodile-infested waters, a lot can go wrong. While they were fishing, Kevin presumably decided he was going to go big or go home. He went closer to the water, trying to catch whatever it was that was swimming under there. Good news, he caught the biggest catch of the day. Bad news, it was a crocodile, and that was the last time anyone saw Kevin. Seriously, his friends reported that they heard him screaming near the shore, but by the time they arrived, they saw nothing but some splashes and his flip-flops by the water. No sign of Kevin anywhere. And if you're thinking that he somehow managed to survive and clawed his way out of the crocodile's stomach, let me be the one to tell you to take your meds. Tragically, Kevin's encounter with the crocodile was likely swift and fatal, if he was fortunate. If not, he faced a grim fate, slowly breaking down in the creature's stomach over an agonizing period. The police continued to search for him for 2 weeks before finally coming across 2 crocodiles that they thought could have been the ones who chomped on Kevin. Can you imagine what it must have been like when the police finally caught the croc? "Sir, you look exactly like the criminal we're looking for in this investigation. He's also a croc."
"Okay, racist. So all crocs look alike to you?"
So, did they give the croc a fair trial? Nope. They shot the dang thing and examined the remains it had in its stomach. With some fancy DNA testing, it was confirmed that those gooey, bloody innards actually once belonged to old Kevin. But hey, at least he died as he lived. If not catching prey, then becoming one. 3. Grizzly bears. Let me tell you guys the tale of Timothy Treadwell. This poor dude was a self-described bear lover who wanted to do nothing but go and film those beasts out in the wild. Hey, that seems like a totally normal and safe hobby, right? So, in 2003, Timothy went on a long camping trip with his girlfriend near a salmon stream. Turns out the couple were in search of a particularly mean bear that was said to roam around those woods. You could probably guess what happens next. Timothy kept following the bear while trying to film it, and let's just say the bear was a little more than camera shy because he replied back by completely mauling the guy. And the worst part? Because the camera was running for the whole thing, Timothy ended up recording his own death in all its gory details. While you can't actually see anything too crazy happen, the sounds of him screaming and getting torn apart by the wild animal are gruesome enough. Plus, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, the bear decided he was in the mood for some dessert. So he jumped onto the girlfriend and ate her up too. By the time the rescue came for Timothy, all they found was a bear sitting on top of a bunch of bloody remains. And here's the kicker. The bear that attacked them wasn't even in its prime. It was super old with several broken teeth and worn down gums. But it was still able to make quick work out of two people. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about these scary things, I don't know what will. Timothy and his girlfriend just had all the cards stacked against them, unfortunately. Since it was fall, food was a little extra scarce in that region, and, well, the local bears had become a tad hungry, which is probably why Timothy's bear-loving charm didn't work out so well. But hey, hungry or not, trying to pretend like you can control a beast like a bear is like asking to be eaten. 4. Snakes. The cool thing about a python? They're non-venomous snakes. So even if one bites you, it's not like you'll die from the poison. The bad thing, well, because they can't just inject you with poison to kill you, doesn't mean they can't wrap you up with their massively strong bodies and squeeze you really, really hard. And this isn't like a cozy little hug. When this thing grabs onto you, you can be sure you'll feel it. A woman in Indonesia got first-hand experience of this when she ended up getting a bit too close to a python back in 2018. For some reason, she thought it'd be a good idea to go wandering alone in the jungle, because when has that ever backfired, right? After days of searching, people finally found a clue: her sandals. Oh, and a 23-foot python that had a suspiciously huge belly, roughly the size of one adult woman. Curious. As you can imagine, it didn't exactly take a whole lot of science to figure out what happened there. But hey, you can't be too sure, right? So the people killed the python and opened its belly, and that's where they found the woman, complete with her clothes and belongings, minus her sandals, of course. It's pretty much a given that the woman met her end before ever touring the python's interior, since these reptiles prefer to squeeze their dinner into submission first. But just picture the terrifying surprise if she was only knocked out, then snapped awake inside the snake. Talk about the ultimate "this isn't where I parked my car" moment. So a little travel tip for those eyeing a trip to Indonesia: maybe give the python-packed jungles a miss. It's the kind of tight squeeze you definitely don't want to experience. 5. Sharks. You didn't think the murder animal capital of the world would only get one shout out in this video, did you? From its horrifying spiders to its warmongering emus, Australia has always been a scary place to live. But guess what? It's an even scarier place to die. Just ask a bunch of divers who decided to go out swimming out on the western Australian coast. When they went missing, rescuers were sent to look for them, and after a lot of searching, they came across a group of sharks that were feasting on a body. This was Eric Berigidi, a 21-year-old college soccer player who was on vacation with his friends before he slipped off the rocks and fell into the shark-infested waters. His friends tried to help him, but hey, I think we've all seen Jaws and know exactly what happens to anyone who tries to be a hero. But if that wasn't enough, Eric wasn't even the only person who became a shark's meal around that area. Turns out a scuba diver named Gary Johnson also ran into one of these things, and let's just say, it wasn't pretty. Apparently, just a few days before he died, he posted on social media about a shark protection device in his scuba suit that gave him peace of mind. Might want to get a refund on that thing because it clearly did not work. Unlike Eric, Gary's body was never found. Only his tank vest and flippers were ever located, so it's safe to say he's probably resting in peace in some shark's stomach. Or, well, resting in pieces, at least. 6. Wolves. Anyone who's read Little Red Riding Hood as a kid knows that wolves mean serious business. If you run into these fellas in the wild, first of all, what were you thinking about going that far out? But also, the best thing to do is to stand your ground and not run. These things love chasing after prey. Just ask Celia Louise, an unfortunate British hiker who got a bit too cuddly with one of these things while out trekking in Greece. Wolves are hard to find near human-populated areas, but Celia sadly decided she'd go down a remote road. Why? Who knows? The last thing anyone heard from her was when she called her brother in a panic, telling him that she was being chased by dogs. Her brother called the British Embassy in Greece, filing a missing person report. But by the time anyone got to her, all that was left of the woman were some bones and dismembered body parts. Apparently, her thigh bones had been cracked open. Yikes! The area where Celia's remains were found is notorious for having a huge wolf population. And well, if they see a trespasser trying to enter their space, they know how to get the job done quickly. Sadly for Celia, these wolves weren't feeling too generous, and they just happened to be in the mood for an English breakfast. You know, hearing stories like that almost makes me feel good about staying inside and just playing video games all day. I mean, it really beats getting eaten alive in the worst way possible. But anyway, from a clouder of over 20 cats deciding their owner was more buffet than buddy, to a pack of wolves treating a lost woman like an all-you-can-eat wilderness special, those were just a few wild tales of people becoming unexpected animal snacks.